Hello everyone, here's a video I've been working on to showcase 4 new Mendoza strats. I've done this because Mendoza is often criticised as being boring and not having many opportunities. I'm here to show that Mendoza does have more possibilities, and with these new strategies implemented in people's gameplay, hopefully it can make it more faster, more interesting. Now, these strategies are not just niche random things that will save you just a few seconds here and there. These are certainly powerful new isolations that are all light and loadout, and that's a big deal because you don't have to think too hard, and if you get something like Chief Winemaker, you can generally be covered with a range of methods to get rid of him and not have to worry about these niche isolations take up too much spot. So the first thing we're going to do is a new Viewpoint isolation. The reason why this is normally terrible is because it's fairly heavy on loadout. The methods you can get tomorrow with are very limited. She gets seen. It's just bad. But if we can reduce the loadouts required and make it safer, this means that I can now cover her with a wider range of methods. Because I don't need gear, I can now bring in explosive device for combat knife, for example. And if I can swap out the emetic device here, Seeker for an emetic device, I can now get her with a concealed pistol. I don't need to bring a trank. That's a big deal. So let's start with this. Now the reason why this works is you'll see when the level starts, Tamara is not a target. She's an NPC, which means I can sedate her and not lose SA, which I will. So I'm going to place that there and bump this dude to the right. Now he's going to look this way, and he won't see them. I'm going to go over here, pick these guns up. Just waiting enough time until she becomes a target. There we go, target triggered. So now I can return, get her, silenced SMG, suit. And now what I do is with my Seeker, medic this dude. So now I have a spare Hackler 9R, which I'm certainly never going to use. And what's going to happen is that dude is going to get sick over here. I'm going to trigger the lawyer and put the gun right here. Now the reason I do this is because this dude normally heads up and sees Tamara. And he will see her fairly soon, and he's got quite good vision. So we want to keep him out of there for as long as possible. We want time to get Don and do everything else. So watch what happens here. This dude will get sick. Now, once we start him getting sick, the lawyer's going to find the gun. And now he's going to report it to this guard. He will pick this up and take it to the nearest gun dump, which happens to be where the gauchos with the earpieces are. And that's not all. Because once he drops it off there, he's going to resume getting sick. And his next sick point is here. So I've completely reset his emetic timing. The point being, he does not leave this point until around 5 minutes after he's done getting sick, and then he'll wander all the way back over there and get Tamara. If you aren't sure whether you can get away in 6 minutes, you can certainly leave another gun for him to find on the way out, which is just hilarious. So that dude is just gone for a long, long time. She's been living alone here for what, 6 years? Ever since the scandal that ruined her career. Are you kidding? So here we see him returning to resume his emetic. What I've done is I've left one of the DACs that I picked up right here. Of course, I've done that as soon as I run down, because what I would do is drop the first pistol there and drop the DAC there. Obviously, assuming I don't need them. I could drop the Seeker if I don't need it. But again, this is to greatly delay it beyond 6 minutes. Now we're going to go through this all over again. So here we see that guard finally returning after his long walk. A reminder, this delay of almost 8 minutes was done with just one emetic and 2 guns which I stole that I likely don't need. So there we go. Now another reason why this strat is often considered bad is because it doesn't link up with Don. But again, because it's faster, and because we get a Bodyguard disguise especially, we can get through to Don. So let's say, for example, you had Tamara with Combat Knife. And let's say Don was something that required a smuggle. I don't know, let's say Fiberwire. You might think, you know, 2 items you have to bring in. Well, Fiberwire you don't have to bring in, but you know what I mean. You might think, how is this with Suit and Bodyguard? How is this possible from one Viewpoint? But we can certainly pull it off with this. Now I'm just going to show you how it works, basically in movement.
Let's just humor him. Yates likes his little games.
Right. Okay. What was that?
Go take care of it.
Now we want the Bodyguard disguise, because obviously I want to drop some guns, and I want to get through the little checkpoint. So we need to be quick. However, I won't need this, and of course because I'm Bodyguard, I can just go straight through the checkpoint here, which is very good. So we see, even with all this nonsense going on, Don is only just starting his little talk. And because I stole their DAT covert from earlier, always useful to have. Clean. So that's an example of how it would work. As you see, stealing the covert DAC is pretty nice. The next strat I'm going to show is a remote tomorrow isolation from a waiter start. Now this is nothing special and not at all meta, so don't worry about that. The power of this strat is how we can make it work with a wide range of disguise combinations that are normally quite time consuming, and how this also allows us to get Don. So I'm going to show you how this works. Just first and simple, what to do. Now we want a remote tomorrow isolation so we can set up other disguises and all sorts of other things, or just go straight for Don quickly. What we do, obviously just Seeker tomorrow, and we'll come in here. We've got quite some time. All we want to do is knock out this dude, drag him here, and set up remote concussive. Now why we want to do this is because this sets up Tamara Fall. It also sets up Tamara Loud Weapon as there's a dump. You can even get Tamara Falling Object if you want with a falling object in there. There's also a stash nearby. But this strat continues to get more powerful, as you'll see soon. So what happens is, as Tamara is made sick with the Seeker, not a medic device, she's looking down. She won't see the body until after those doors close, she spots. So they don't hear her call what? They won't hear it. And she'll run up and knock herself out. And that's pretty cool. So she's down. Now she will be seen at approximately 5 minutes 40 by Diana, but this is for fast spins. We don't worry about that. If you're feeling brave, you could also leave like a duck right here. She will always land at that same spot, if you wanted to. Now to demonstrate how to work this strat with a variety of spins, I'm going to show off a way that we can make this work with a Tango Musician and or a Corvo Isolation, all at the same time, all while remote isolating Tamara and isolating Don all within his first cycle. And you might think that's impossible, but I'm going to show you how. We only need these 2 items technically. We can use a remote concussive to remote isolate Tamara, but I don't need to prove that's doable. This is just to show how we can work it with 2 required items to bring in for the map, even getting all these early isolations and 2 unique target disguises. Of course, we don't need to do this for Tango and Corvo. It can work for either or, but it's pretty cool that you can do it all at the same time. The first thing though, regardless of anything, is we want to trigger Corvo. Even if we don't want Corvo's disguise, we still want to trigger Corvo, because we want him to talk to Don as soon as possible. So we're going to medic Tamara. Now, as I said, you don't need to do this if you don't want Corvo, but we did need to trigger his combo. We're going to put it there. After the 10th step down, that means that Corvo is going to see it, and no one will see or hear it. Now, you see 44 seconds, Don's heading up, but Corvo's about to call him, and it's going to freeze him there for quite a while. So you think, I haven't even started anything on Tango Musician until 52 seconds. But I'm going to show you I could still hit Don first cycle with Tango Musician, and deal with Corvo, and isolate Tamara. As I said, if I really wanted to, I could certainly remote isolate Tamara here. I would do this if I wasn't necessarily going for Tango or Corvo, but if I wanted to, I could do it. I'm not going to though, because we're just going to show how this works without. Again, assuming that I needed to bring in items, because you always want to make these strats work with as low loadout as possible. So Tango Musician is on his way. So we see 1 minute 40, Don is still on his phone call. I've delayed him by quite a lot of time, which means that even though it is late and delayed, I will still make Don technically on his first cycle with Tango Musician. And of course, it's not just that. I've got Tamara down in a good spot, a really good spot that covers multiple conditions, and Corvo is going to go down at roughly 2 minutes 40. So Don has finally started heading up at 2:06. And we can leave Tamara here and knock at this guard. Now, something to keep in mind here is Diana and friends will come through here at roughly 5:45. This is not the strat that you want to do for long, really long elaborate spins. Medium length, sure. Of course, normally if you saw these two guys, you say there's no way anything involving that is medium, but I'll show you that it is. So 2 minutes 44, Don has just started his combo. Normally by this time, Don is well and truly down. So you would have to bring in a medic. Of course, we don't have any seeker shots left. So this is a great way to get Don Tango Musician. And of course, I just missed it before, but yeah, Corvo went down at roughly 2 minutes 40 to the snail. Now we want Don to panic and scream, since that'll bring a guard up for a quick disguise change. Here he comes. Now, important thing when doing this, you definitely want the keys. Don't forget the keys. There we go. This is just to showcase a quick exit. Because the thing about this strat, like a loud weapon or a loud explosive, is you can panic Diana, and you really don't want to panic Diana if you're going for this strat. Because that will prevent you from getting a Tango exit. But anyway, as we head down, we will see, sure enough, there's Corvo. As I said, he will never get seen. Ever. That dude can get sick all day long, he never looks up. So we want to make sure we've got the exit ready. Diana will be here roughly 5 minutes. When doing this, always make sure this woman isn't facing, because you'll see she's clearly not looking. Now because I carried this guy, I will of course have to hide him. But it doesn't matter, because you think of how complex this spin was. And I'm choosing really difficult conditions here. Now I'm also going to show this, you know, if you were doing this condition, you wouldn't want to put a C4 because you'll blow open those doors. Micro remotes are always your friend. A lot of people love to bring ducks. I can recommend against duck every day of the week. This is much less likely to blow open doors. Now you see, because guards aren't necessarily nearby here, they won't get in time, and we have a clean exit. Diana happens to be down there, but you know, you normally wouldn't expect that. And there you go. So that spin's quite convoluted, but it shows a lot of potential for the mixture of isolations and disguises. The last thing I want to show off is yet another remote tomorrow isolation. Now, this one's pretty niche. I'll give you that. But the point is, it opens up a lot of possibilities, which could make or break whether you win or lose a match. To do this, all we need is a med device. We don't need anything more than this. So this opens up every option. Now because I don't need anything else, this means I am allowed to set up a proximity, so a concussion to trap her there in case her conditions were, it would take a while to get. So to do this, all we need to do is pull the medic out of the briefcase and take this. Now I can take my time here because I'm not in any rush. There's no rush for anything here. Now what I want to do is I want to wait for this dude to pass this woman. And I'm going to drop the briefcase. Now watch what happens. We watch him. He looks. Drop it. Now she sees me drop it. But because she sees it, she doesn't care. Even though it's still clearly in her vision, she won't care. And no one else will. Then what's going to happen is Tamara's going to walk past here and I detonate this at 107, 108. It's generally pretty lenient. You don't want to go too late though because she would bring it back to her guards. However, this is really, really consistent if you pull it at 107. So here we go. 6, 7. Now if you see how she wasn't interested in it, now like I said, you might think this is spooky, but honestly 107 is extremely reliable. If people are comfortable in going for the Whittleton Creek isolation, this is better. It looks like she's gone the wrong way, but she isn't. And so now she's off to get sick. Now of course, as you all know, you can leave the concussive device in the toilet and come back and get her later, and no one will find. So that's pretty neat. You might be thinking, oh, this spin is really convoluted, tricky, and how can I possibly work into a spin? Well, I'm here to show this spin has a lot of versatility, especially powered by any condition involving lawyer. Because lawyer is so far out, most people spend 1 to 1.5 minutes traversing the map to go get him. But if we can get lawyer straight off the top and cause Tamara to isolate herself and get Don for a cycle, this is really good, especially for a condition where Don involves lawyer. Because we can remote Tamara, we can remote isolate Tamara at the same time with this strat. So let's say, for example, we had Tamara next snap Gaucho and Don Hobby Knife as lawyer. Normally a bit of a tricky spin. I'm going to show how this works. First thing is this quick lawyer grab using ICA. So there's a shot there to bring him around, and we're going to get him. Now it's especially important to remember you crouch when you shoot, you crouch when you throw, and you crouch when you change clothes, because those guards can see over the top. You have to remember not to stand up at any time. You do that, leave him there, and he will never get seen. Even if he falls to the right, doesn't matter, he won't get seen. We don't need the invitation. We need to make sure we place her so she doesn't get sick. That's also important from before. Put it about there. It's pretty good. She's not going to get sick. Now because we're going for a remote tomorrow isolation, we're going to do a bit more stuff here. You still have to get Don first cycle. So we're going to need some bottles. You should always have bottles anyway. Useful. Now you have to keep in your mind 107. You can't forget that. Because if you do and you miss the medic, then I'll just restart. So we're going to do that. Now always keep in mind the timing. You don't want to miss this. So play it safe. And medic. And 7. Click. Now we need to get on the stairs behind Don's base by 145. We've got 30 seconds. So we're going to do a bit of a rush here, but this is quite reliable and something that I recommend people do. Because we want to get this dude. Turn around. So I bought a spare bottle. So you see, I have to be on here by 1:45. 6 seconds clear. Easy. Now, Tamara is busy getting sick.
Please get.
Make sure it doesn't get hurt. Good. Now, the reason I chose Gaucho is because normally if you make Tamara sick like this and you try to approach with Gaucho, her bodyguard will enforce it. And that's a big problem. But because I'm going for a remote ISO, I don't have to worry about that at all. Of course, this is good if Tamara's condition was, say, Chief Winemaker or something. So, anyway, there she goes. Again, Gaucho's a bit of a tricky condition. Because that guard's gone, we can get her. And of course, it is important to remember, Gaucho is enforced by bodyguards in the Tango area. So always remember to change. Of course, we're going to teleport Diana by looking down. So that's pretty quick for that spin. And quite reliable.